everyone, I am back as promised to do part one of the deep dive into Anchored and Ambitious for the Anchored and Ambitious challenge that I just posted on my Etsy, and basically give you guys a little bit of the backstory tonight on how Anchored and Ambitious came to be. And really, that we'd have to go back to last summer when Taylor found out that he had been selected for Chief. And if there's any other Navy spouses out there, whether you've gone through it or you're potentially going through it this summer, or that could be coming up at some point in your spouse's career, finding out that your spouse has been selected for Chief is such an amazing thing. It's such a huge milestone, and it's definitely something to be proud of. But for us, when Taylor found out that he had been selected, I knew that the next 6 weeks of our life was going to be intense. Between his schedule, the pressure, all of the expectations for him, and then for me, being a department head at my job, and then, having a whole team that is depending on me, plus the added stress that he's going to be under, and trying to ultimately stay steady and be my best self. That way I could support him in the best ways that I could. And for everybody, that's going to be a little bit different. For us, that looked a lot like emotional support. I did do handwritten letters for him that he was able to get a new one every morning and take with him. Just a little piece of me saying, hey, I'm still here. You're going to get through this. You've got this, and I love you. And everything's going to be okay. He had a new letter every day, which also really helped. But that also meant, for us, we really strive to not go out and eat throughout the week. So we do a lot of home-cooked dinners, which meant that even though I also have a hectic schedule, every dinner was going to be on me, and I had to make sure that he had something that was going to be good for him to eat, help him stay fueled, and help keep him motivated also. And in knowing that all of that was going to change, I wanted to find a way that I could really keep myself in check and not essentially pour from an empty cup. Because, you really can't do that. And I have to pour as much into myself as I can for him. So I started writing these little daily anchors, which were reminders, reflections, tiny actions that I could do throughout the day, whether it was take a pause and reset, or, hey, how are you feeling today? Let's write it down in a journal kind of thing. And in doing all of those things that would help me stay steady while he was stretched to his limits, that's ultimately where, sorry, the video kind of cut off right there, but ultimately it was things that would help me stay steady while knowing that he was stretched completely to his limits and that I needed to still be there to support him and help get him through that. And that's ultimately where Anchored and Ambitious was born. It wasn't born from perfection, not having it all figured out. It was just wanting to be able to show up for him in the best way that I could and be my best self for myself, my team at my work, and just not really fall apart in doing that, because it can be a lot. It is definitely a high stress time, even though it is, looking back, it is a very fun experience to go through with your spouse. But that's really something that helped me, and kind of just, and especially looking back on it now, I can look through, I've got my Anchored and Ambitious now binder that I put everything in, and I think it's so fun to be able to go back and look through it and go, oh wow, I remember this night, I remember having to stay up and make these posters for whatever, or I remember trying to figure out how to do this crazy task with him going through season, and I was like, wow, I remember that was so stressful. Looking back on it now, I just remember it being fun. I don't really remember all the nights that I have written down where I got minimal sleep because he came home exhausted and I had to do 100% of everything at home. That's not to say that, whatever you're going through, the Anchored and Ambitious challenge could be used for anything. It's not just for a spouse trying to put their spouse through Chief season. It could be any challenge that you're facing, any hard time, whether that is a career change or a career failure. Maybe you reached for something and it didn't work out and now you have to rebuild. Maybe it is grief. Maybe it's the possibility of accepting this huge job offer and not knowing if you should stay or go. It could be used for so many different things. I found it to be a very useful tool, and I think that other people could as well.